Right? How do we learn pshat? Right before Shlisha, Yudal and Zayin. But Yomer, when the Meraglim said, El Kola Das B'nei Yisrael Lemor. No, sorry. Yeshua and Kolev said, right? Yud Daled Zayin, right before Shlisha. So Yeshua and Kolev say, Ha'aretz asher avarnu bo l'asur osa tov ha'aretz ma'od ma'od. It's really very, very good. Okay. Im chafetz banu Hashem v'hevi oisanu al eretz ha'artzazos u'nesanu lanu eretz asher yizavas chalav udvash. So how do you translate that passage? Yud Dal and Ches. If God wants us, v'hevi oisanu, and then He will bring us. Im chavetz Hashem banu v'hevi oisanu. Ezra, it's good to see you. Let's speak up. V'hevi oisanu el ha'aretz hazos u'nesanu lanu. How do you translate the passage? What's the if-then clause?
Isn't it imperfect part of them not?
So, but so if He wants us and v'hevi, and He brings it to us, u'nesanu lanu, then He'll give it to us. No, and He brings us and He gives it to us. No, and He will give it to us.
So He brings you there and doesn't give it to you. What's the there?
So I thought that the pshat should be, and this Sforno says this part. He says that we get messed up because we put shlishi in the middle. Right? I guess they wanted to end on a good thing. It's hard to find a good thing over here. So they wanted to end on an old mode. So, but shouldn't we read it? It is a very good land if God wants us to have it and gives it to us. Right? Now that's the word of the Ramban, and of the Ramban says that that Rashi also says no other nation was able to work Eretz Yisrael. Like the Arachaim has at the end of Bahar, I think. The Zavas Chaladosh only for us. So look at the Sforno.
No, they came back with
Was hold on. Yeah, okay, hold on a second. It's a good word. 1 second. Let's look at the Sforno. Yeah. Start with Zayin. Horetz Sheravandu Bo Lasura Sa Lasura Mokum Yeshav. Ka'omer Isim Asa Oretz, like we were told. Tov Oretz Hine Be'inyan Oretz Mahu Anu. Where does it keep going? Oh yeah. Anu Me'idim Shi Mokum Toiv Ma'oid Beli Doifik without any problems. Like a Moshe Heidu Chavereinu V'Amram She'im Heyoisas Avas Chalom Doshi Eichelas. Not like our Demorag say it's a great land, but it's a scary place to be because it consumes its dwellers. They said they're tough people. It's like a cakewalk for us. They won't even take us up. Hefech edus chavenu v'amki oz im chavetz omna ki toivosa ad ma'oid hi bitnai sheyachvei zbanu Hashem ka'omroi eret asher Hashem lekecha doirei shoysa v'hoyim shomaya tishmu. Right? Ve'viasanu hefech ma she'idu chavereinu v'amam le'nuchal alois. No, kim omnam le'yiskemim mo yoish v'etzekosenu kalal. Right? So L'chara is that he's learning pshat that it's a good land if God wants us to have it. If God likes us. It's like a pella that we break in the middle of Shlach. It's a pella. that we call somebody up before in a right. So we assume that the im must be going forward. But according to Sforna, this word that the land only produces for us is a pasuk over here. So David is saying, but it's not correct historically, because they brought back this great fruit. Could be, or could be. This is one possibility that before we get it, then it's a regular land. But I was wondering if it could be the Ramban. The Ramban says that what was the whole point of us of sending Meraglim, right? Ramban says that I think in Devarim. But here the Ramban says, you look back at the beginning. Right, this is isn't the Ramban? The Oitam. Right. They says it says it, look at Amud Yishuv Inyan Bezeh. Ramban asked the question, the opening Ramban, Pasuk base. Ramban has all the questions. Why does God sending us if it's a bad thing? And why does Moshe Rabbeinu say later on Vayitav Adavar if it's a bad thing? Right, so the Ramban said Yishuv Inyan Bezeh Yisrael Omru Kederach Kol Abam Lachem. David was saying, Beres Nachmiya. ששולחים לפניהם אנשים לדעת הדרכים, ומה ויערמו בשוב ילכו אתר וראש הצבא להרס לפניהם הדרכים. Right? That like every nation, you send in scouts in order to know the lie of the land. Vishinulam Eitzah, and they'll give advice which city you take first, and which city is going to be easy to conquer. The Kacham Befeirush, V'yeshimu Osanu Dover Es Derech Asher Naleba, as it says in the Pshat Pasuk. Koloyimar, which cities we go first? V'zu Eitz Aguna, V'kol Koiv Sherotais V'chein Osa Oid Moshe, and Moshe did it because in later on in the parsha, what parsha is it? Kugas. So there it says V'yishlach Moshe L'Ragel Yazer, and Yeshua did it. But Cain, it must be a good thing if they did it. As the Ramban's approach is we're not supposed to be Seimech Alanes. V'nei Moshe, but then if we read further, the Ramban says, it was to get them to be more excited about the land. Yeah, if you look at V'chein Nir Ve'oid, so he says he has different, a few lines down. V'hu ketam bereiro kibom liknois dover. Miloshin levad me anshe hatarim v'seicherim. V'chein al orta shertarti lem. V'chein lo sur lem menucha. So all of these lashonos via suras oretz, they do not mean to determine should we go there or not. V'alkein tziva is on Moshe lefreit hatova hi imra, hashmeina imroza. V'akol lesamcham, to make them happy. Ki tzvi hi lanu chol it's a beautiful land. V'yaluba v'chevin's gadol, right? Then they'll end up going with the great excitement. That's what when you have to give a Shema Baruch Hashem and Shlach. So they always put this word. The Rav elaborated this a lot. That the purpose of the Meraglim was that they should come back and say, the Valdig, and we should go V'simcha Yiseret Eretz Yisrael. We should have the Yaluba v'chevas gadol. So that's what I would think about the answer for what David is saying. That if Baruch Hu put these great fruits there, so we'd come back and say, what a gavaldig land. That's a this is a verse from Hillel Goldberg. He said every so often in Tisha B'Av. But the Gemara says, the Navi says that lost of lavai, so the days of fast will turn to be days of sin. Right? So we usually in Pshat means that lost of lavai hits Tisha B'Av and we'll say, our veil is paid off. It was misayras. We did tshuva. So we'll take pride and happiness in the fact that we went from Misavel. Or we'll think about how terrible Tisha B'Av was and how Gvaldi doesn't happen. So I think Hillel Goldberg, he's a Denverite, a Choshva Jew in Denver. So it's a Talmud Chacham. He's an embarrassing, colorful person. So he said, no, it means that Shavuos B'Tammuz was the day of getting the luchos. It was going to be Gvaldi Simcha. Moshe was coming down with the luchos. Would have a nace shemayim, was the a rock that you could read the right. Simamish a nace sitting right there. It'd be a tremendous simcha, bringing down a rock. Right. So what about Tishma? Say, and he may say this. I'm not sure. Same thing. It was supposed to be a fantastic day. The day that they came back with the Baldig fruit. The day they came back and said there were giants there, and we're going to take those giants. So it's supposed to be a big simcha. That's what he does with the Sorbatavus. I think we had a board for Sorbatavus. Anyways, so that could be the explanation that even the fruit that they brought back was brought back for us, which would explain this word is correct to the pasuk that I often wonder about. Look at when it tells the trajectory of the Meraglim, pasuk Chav Gimel. Right? It tells us where they go. It tells us that they saw these giants. They came to Hebron, and they came to Nachal Eshkol, and there they took a bunch of grapes. And they called it Nachal Eshkol because they took a bunch of grapes. Asher Odos Eshkol Asher Kos. Isn't that a strange thing? They clipped some grapes, and they said now they gave it a name because they clipped some. It doesn't bother us because we grew up with the Carmel signature. Washing those huge grapes. So for us, it's a davar chashuv to have a simon like that. But if you wouldn't grow up with Carmel, and you would say, just think about this. So they called it because they got the grapes from there. Nachal Eshkol. They didn't call the place Nachal Rimon, Nachal Tain. I don't know. So, but this word would be Yasher then, because Baruch Hu put Givaldic grapes there, because that was supposed to be the place that we're going to come back and say we love if a Jew goes to Banyas and it's in Gedi, and he comes back, he's excited about Eretz Yisrael because of Banyas and Gedi. I was upset if he'll come back and they're excited about the restaurants. Because Baruch Hu didn't have to give us beautiful parts of Eretz Yisrael. The guy comes back and so he's excited about Eretz Yisrael because of Banyas, because of Ein Gedi, maybe because of a lot of people, maybe. So so that would make sense because Baruch Hu put fantastic fruit there, so he'd come back and show Klal Yisrael what's going on over there. So then it makes sense that they'd call it Nachal Eshkol. Okay, let's take a moment. Look at there's a Gvaldic important in Rashi. Hachazaku. You want to see this? We pointed in the past. I think it's fantastic art. It says Pasuk. My favorite Vortlach in the Shelach. Right, it says Pasuk Yud Tes. Right at the very beginning, Yud Gimel Yud Tes. Re'isem Yud Ches. You see the land. There's Amar Yeshua Hachazak Hu Harafeh Hama'atu Imrav. Right? Are they strong or are they weak? Are they few or are they a lot? Hatova, is it good? Is it bad? The machanim, are they open or are they fortified, right? So now, if you look back, the Rashi says, "Achazok hu im rafeh, simin mosa lehem." In befrozim yoshvim, if they're living in open cities, then they're strong. But if they're living in closed cities, then they're weak. So what drove Rashi to say, this one's a simon? Nothing else is a simon. Hachazok, we gotta know. Is it a power? Are we up against the strong cities or weak cities? So there's a Jew called a Victor Bonchek. He wrote the books, What's Bothering Rashi? Right, so he suggested, if you look at the Seder over here, so it's a little bit out of order, right? Hachazok means it's bad for us. Harafeh is good for us, right? Hama'at is good for us. That comes first. And Merav is bad for us. Mor Tova is good for us. And Merav bad for us. Mor Machanim, if they are in open cities, that's bad for us, right? Right now, the truth is, without Rashi, we would have said Habib Sarim, Machem is good for us, Sarim is bad for us, right? Well, more it's Shemeni good for us, and Rosa bad for us. Eitzim Oyin, okay, Rashi says Tzadikim, not Tzadikim on the kosher, but most of them, the good comes first, right? In the Pshat is Hama'at, good is first, Tova is first, and Machanim is good, and Sarim is bad. And then what next? Shmeina. So this is the only one where bad is first. So therefore Rashi said, no, achazak means that siman mosalahem. He gave him a siman. Im befrazim yeshvim, right? Then what does it do with the pasuk? That belongs to pasuk Yutes. Doesn't belong to pasuk Yutes. Achazak u'merafeh, right? So Rashi, why is Rashi telling me pshat of what happens in pasuk Yutes? So he says, so this Rabbi Bunchik says the following. It says, it's out of order. It doesn't follow the pattern. So he was saying, I'm giving you a siman. Hachazak u'harafa. Right? It's also strange in Lashon, right? Because it doesn't say hachazaku imrafa. Hama'atu imrav. Hatovi imrav. Right? Hamachanim imrav. It's the only one that doesn't say im. This is a siman. Achazok, if you have a strong city, you should know how Rafem means the people are weak. Right? So that's why he says this is not it's not part of it's not one of the, if good, right. Later on, there'll be a Machanim V'tzara. This one is teaching Achazok, a strong city, who are rough, it's really a weakness. It's really a weakness. No? That is a.
I thought the other ones were visual. No, just by the vision.
Yeah.
You can see if there's a lot of, there's a little.
Yeah.
You can see if it's good, if it's fast growing, bad. You can see if this city's work or not. How can you tell something
strong or not? Yeah. See. So you're saying you have to look, you have to be ma'ayin. Right. Okay. Let's do. Do you remember the opening Klei Yakar? Well, women. No. Okay. The opening. There's a lot of many Klei Yakars, but if you don't remember the first one, that's the politically correct Klei Yakars. Shelach lecha anashim, right? So Rashi says anashim means that they were good guys. All right, so look at the Klei Yakar. Anashim lefisha Amr Yisrael nishlach lefanenu anashim v'yachbru lanu zaretz. So lanu hainu lahanasenu l'toivasenu. Which Baruch Hu says Shlach lecha v'lo lehem ki lecha davka Yesh shlichus lano u'letayv lehem lo u'letayv. The shlichus zeh nigzer aleim misa u'lemoishe garm sheyichye chai oiner ba'am shana. Right? Ki kevar goz nigzer alemoishe shlo yires osik lemalchei shevumois. Lechem raglim nishtar ba. So he says, Shelach l'cha nashim l'cha. This is going to be good. And why? Because in the end, the Parshas Moshe Rabbeinu got a gzeira. You won't see the Lamed Halacha. That means once they get there to Yisrael, he's done. So now he gets another 40 years. Okay. Domer acher. Shelach l'anashim davka ato tech zebuch hakodesh. You send them because you have to see if they're good guys or not. Okay. Next. Rabbi Seinu Amru. Shesmichas meraglim the Miriam. Why? Maybe Miriam logsel iske dibo risham alolo rovalechu buser. And the pshat in this medrash is shemiyad acher ma'aser Miriam nishtalcha meraglim ki omer Hashem peni nochem kol echad mehem. Maybe they'll take musa bikach musa beroisai masha kol Miriam ubitamze parad kan anoshim, and that's why it says men. The fish and them ever Miriam and Moshe. Not but Tedaber. Keep it Tedaber means Chayzer al Miriam. Moshe Mitzinu Einishli Aaron. We only find that Miriam got them out the Tzaraz. El Shigilach HaKosov. Shalosh Ein Hara Motzei Ben Noshim Yosef Ben Noshim. Right? Ki Asara Kavin Sicha Yordu Loilam. Tisha Not Lu Noshim. Ulefisha Stam Noshim. Padponiyos, Dabroniyos, Alkein Tola Hadib Miriam. Kihi is Chila Bikil Kola Zu. V'Aaron Hoya Tofel Lo. Chachomar Shlach L'cha Noshim, She'ein Lem Derech Noshim. V'lo Yiu Ki Miriam, She'sipur Lashon Hara. Elo Anoshim, Mamish Ein Darkon L'sav Lashon Hara. Dover Acher, Prad L'cha Noshim, Misha Omer Yiseinu HaNoshim Hoyu Seinim Esaretz. Rama Nitne Roish V'Neshuv Mitzrayim. VaNoshim Hoyu Mechama V'Esaretz. Rama Tana Lonu Achuza. V'Leis Lovchan. V'Alkein Omer Kadosh Baruch Hu Lefi Daiti Sheni Royim Ba'asira Yoyis Tov L'Shlech Noshim. HaMechama V'Esaretz. Kilo Yisabu V'Gnusa. We should send 12 women, female spies. Right? That'll be better for us. Abulacha, the dadcha shata sovish ksheir meima, ata sovish arutz chaviva leyen. Shlach anoshim. Is there shlach lecha ledaitcha anoshim? Ledaite, you should have sent them. Was that what you say? Yeah.
Yes, they could have second vice president.
So it would be. So it would be the nothing. It would be the wives, yeah.
It's his own.
Yeah. For the 12 women going to team, Mama should have changed the world. I mean, so it's an equal, what's it called, equal opportunity Klayoker. First he bashes, but he ended up in the right spot. Was that?
This is the kind of thing that gets voted on.
You knew that he had to spend Shabbos with Mrs. Kliyoker, so okay, so what did we accomplish? We did a bunch of Gvard on the Rashi. We did the right. Let's shot in Shlishi slices mamash in the middle of a sentence. But the people have told me that the aliyahs were not necessarily made by Rabbanu necessarily. No, that's for sure not. But they couldn't be because. Right. Yeah. Although I guess you could say they could still stop. We could still stop, but we know that we have what's it called, an Isafa. I mean, like, I think it's
And there's some focus on where a certain.
which has to be, yeah. It seems to be a later thing, but you often find the pichos to it, like kisisa, something going on over there. But this is strange. Yeah, by Yitzchak also that they slice the middle of the bracha. The bracha this, yeah, 18. No, it's also in the middle. That's with the above there. Okay, Sarachin. So that's with the im. But in terms of the Pashtanim, I haven't seen yet somebody has a different shot than the. But the im is the Hemshach previous parts. Okay. Ezra, Ashkaya, thanks for coming. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Skye.